The condition for the validity of zakat. 11. For zakat to be valid, it is essential to have the intention. When giving or setting aside zakat, the following issues arise from this principle. 1. When giving zakat to a poor person or setting aside property for zakat, one must intend in one's heart that it is zakat. It is not necessary to state this verbally. Thus, when giving an item to a poor person with the intention of zakat, stating verbally that it is being given as a donation or to settle a debt does not invalidate the zakat. 2. When property is given to a poor person without the intention of zakat, the following applies. If the property is still in the poor person's possession, it is sufficient to intend it as zakat. However, if it has left their possession, the intention alone is not sufficient. Furthermore, when someone pays zakat on behalf of another person using that person's property, it depends on whether that person gives consent. If the property is still in the possession of the poor person, the zakat is valid. Otherwise, it is not. 3. In the payment of zakat is the principal's intention not the agent's. That is valid. Therefore, if a person appoints an agent to pay zakat on their behalf, they must intend it as zakat either when they hand over the property to be given as zakat or when the agent gives that property to the poor. The agent's intention alone is not sufficient. This agent may be a Muslim or a non-Muslim zimba. 4. If a person who intends to give zakat occasionally gives something to the poor without setting aside specific property for that purpose, and the intention to give zakat does not come to mind, these gifts do not count as zakat. However, if, while giving such property to a poor person, they are asked, "Why are you giving this?" and they can immediately and without hesitation answer, "I am giving this as zakat," then this intention is valid. 5. If, after giving charity to the poor on a certain day, a person says, "I intended for the charity I gave during this period to count as my zakat," this is not sufficient. 6. If a person gives all of the property in their possession as charity without intending it as zakat, the zakat obligation on that property is considered fulfilled. Whether or not they intended it as a voluntary charity, the ruling remains the same. However, if they intended this property to fulfill a vow or another obligation, it is considered to have been given. According to that intention, zakat due on this donated property must be paid separately. 7. If a person donates a portion of his property subject to zakat to a poor person, the zakat due on that portion is waived. Example, if a wealthy person donates a debt of 100,000 lira owed to him by a poor person to that same poor person, he has only paid the zakat on that 100,000 lira. In this case, it makes no difference whether or not he intended it as zakat. Thi's 100,000 lira cannot be counted toward the zakat on his other property. Likewise, if property is donated to a debtor who is not poor, this does not constitute the payment of zakat on either that property or any other property. According to the correct opinion, the zakat due on this donated asset must also be paid separately